What's up, folks? Dave Swift here. Obviously, I am remote today. Welcome to my hotel room. I'm away on a little business trip with a new client who needs a new WordPress website. The topic of hosting came up, and the client wanted to go with WP Engine because it's a name that they recognize. Now, I've got a lot of experience with WP Engine over the years, and it usually ends up going one direction, and that is away from WP Engine. We usually migrate their site off to something else after a short period of time. My primary choice for e-commerce clients and other large like learning websites, LMSs, things like that, tends to be Cloudways. And the reason for that is, well, I'm going to show you in this video because I reached out to my friends over at Cloudways and told them what was going on. They thought this would make a great comparison video. Now, truth is, I don't do a lot of comparison videos on this channel because tech choices are very nuanced, and in some situations, about every product out there is going to be a good fit for someone. However, in this instance, I wanted to illustrate why we would choose Cloudways over a choice like WP Engine. So know that this video is sponsored, but it comes from my honest experience in years working in this industry. So let's get into it. I'm going to cover 5 different categories here. 1 is going to be price. 2 is going to be security. 3 is going to be backups. 4 is going to be site speed, and then finally all of the extra bells and whistles such as support, AI integration, just all of the other features that might push you over from one provider to another. So let's get started off with what I think is the most important thing for a lot of people, which is pricing. Okay, so here is the WP Engine page. I'm on their pricing tab, and you can see that their essential plan is going to be $30 per month, but you have to pay $350 today in order to get started. Now you can switch to a monthly plan here. So, the situation I run into a lot is that people are trying out ideas, and that's a great way, and it's never been easier to try out ideas in business than it is today. So we don't necessarily want to make a full annual commitment here for a site going to $350 all at once. It's a lot better to start with, say, a monthly or even a lower term commitment to just figure out things, see if the product market fit is there. So if we go with a monthly plan here, now here's where it gets really interesting to me, because with WP Engine, we're only going to get a single site for that $35 a month. And they're also going to limit us in terms of how many visitors we can get to that site. This is really expensive in my opinion, because 25,000 visits is not a lot. And when I hover over the tooltip, it says visits per month are estimates only. If you have traffic spikes or a dynamic website, contact us before purchasing. Now, that's very interesting to me because, one, who doesn't hope to have a traffic spike, right? That means that you had a big release or there's a lot of news on your website and people are going there. That's why we're signing up for hosting and paying $350 a year, or if you pay monthly, it's going to be even more than that. As far as a dynamic website, well, typically in the industry, that refers to something like an e-commerce website or a learning management. Like you're doing online courses, you're using an LMS. And those are typically considered dynamic websites because some of the content can be cached, but when someone goes to check out, that is not obviously cached. We don't want a direct copy of some other person's cart. So it's dynamically loaded at that point. So almost all websites that are going to sign up for expensive hosting like this are going to fall into one of those 2 categories. So essentially everyone should contact them before purchasing. In terms of storage, very, very minimal here, 10 gigabytes of storage and 75 gigabytes of bandwidth. Now, there are a lot of add-ons that we can get, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later on. But now that we've got these numbers fresh in our mind, I want to jump over into Cloudways and just kind of do an A/B comparison in terms of what could we get for this price, or if we wanted similar specs, how much would we have to spend? So here's the Cloudways website. I'm going to go over to their pricing here. Now, full disclosure, I'm a Cloudways affiliate. I do have a coupon code, so you can get $10 for free to get started with Cloudways. That's just code Dave Swift. Let's check it out here, because their pricing starts at $14 per month. But very interestingly here, you pay hourly. It's the exact opposite of WP Engine, where you're paying monthly or yearly. Here, you can spin up a site, and if you wanted to have it up for 6 hours, you're going to pay, probably around 3 cents. Like, it's not going to be very much money at all. Then you can try things out, test out that new plugin, see how it works on a live website. And if you don't like it, just pull that site down. Now we're gonna get 1 GB of RAM here, one virtual CPU, which means that it's not a dedicated CPU, it's one that's shared on a larger dedicated server, and as you need resources, it will be provided for you. Then you've got 25 gigabytes of storage, so even on their lowest plan here, and we'll see exactly what this means in a second, on their lowest premium plan, you're getting 2.5 times the storage. They're gonna, instead of limiting you on visitors, they're gonna limit you on bandwidth. And 1 TB of transfer bandwidth is a tremendous amount for most sites. That's going to be a significant amount, especially if you're using a CDN like we talked about before, where you are basically distributing your website across the globe. This is gonna be 1 TB of transfer from your server. So that could even be exponentially increased. So I really like using a transfer bandwidth cap versus having just a kind of blanket, here's how many people came to your website limit. Because I mean, in the age of AI, we know that already over half of the traffic on the internet is AI bots. It's bots visiting websites. And so what if they just, you get 25,000 overnight to your newly created website because some Claude scraper or something deemed that an interesting page? It could happen. It would be extremely rare, obviously, but limiting visits on just about any software service gives me pause. So I do like the bandwidth cap. Notice it even says here unlimited visits and unlimited websites. That means you're not going to be penalized if you want to add a few additional websites to your server for things like testing, or maybe they're just very small brochure style websites that don't need a lot of resources. What you will run into, I mean, this doesn't mean, hey, I can put 100 websites on this $14 a month server. You'll probably run into some performance issues if you do that. But what it means is that you're the boss here, right? You're paying for these resources. You can run them how you like. If you start to have some server issues, well, you can just scale up and get a more powerful server. You can see the next tier up here is going to give you 2 GB of RAM, so doubling the memory. That's going to help a lot. And it's also going to double your storage as well as your transfer bandwidth. Now, if these prices are still too much for you, you can switch over from premium to standard pricing, which drops the cost even more. Now, you're generally going to get older hardware here, so it'll be a little bit slower CPU. Obviously, the terms and everything, they look very similar, right? If you look at the specs, they're not really changing a whole lot. One thing that does change is you don't have NVMe storage anymore. Now you have SSD storage. Everything's just a little bit slower. You can assume the CPUs will be a little slower. The RAM will probably be a little slower. This is just older hardware, but great for some sites that, cost is the main issue and you want to keep things, inexpensive. Now, I've been showing you DigitalOcean pricing here. And the really cool thing about Cloudways is they're very transparent about where your website is hosted. DigitalOcean is the owner of Cloudways, so I would recommend at least considering using DigitalOcean servers because everything is obviously going to be very well integrated. But if you have a preference for something like Vultr, because they're known for having high frequency CPUs, which can be great for WooCommerce sites or LearnDash sites where you have a lot of dynamic activity. Well, you could switch over to a Vultr high frequency site here and get that more powerful CPU that can handle more customers on a similar price point, but you don't have to worry about actually learning the back end of using Vultr. Everything is taken care of for you. You don't need your own independent account. You just choose the provider you want. Like, I want to use Google Cloud. It's going to be more expensive, but you get that Google, infrastructure that so many companies use, or maybe AWS because you want to say that your business runs on AWS. Well, now you can do that without having to actually learn AWS. For me, I almost always choose DigitalOcean or Vultr. There's also Linode, another great provider, but I like DigitalOcean because they are a publicly traded American company, which means that I don't have to worry about the ownership of the brand. I mean, it's publicly traded. They have to uphold good values and good business practices for their shareholders. Okay, that's the cost comparison chunk of this video. Now, let's jump back over to WP Engine. They offer managed WP hosting, which means that they're going to update the server for you. That includes PHP and MySQL. Now, will you get that same service with Cloudways? Is it going to be easy to use? And what are things like security, backups, all of that site speed, what is that going to entail? Well, I've just logged into my Cloudways account here that I use to make these videos. And I'm going to spin up a server and just show you how easy it is to actually manage this server compared to, the done for you managed offering of WP Engine. So first of all, Cloudways has two offerings. They have what they call flexible, and that's what we've been talking about thus far on the video. They also have autonomous, which is going to automatically scale your server for you based on the amount of traffic and CPU needs that you have as a business. So if you really don't want to hire a WordPress expert to work on your website at all, you can pay a little extra and sign up for autonomous through Cloudways, and then your site will always be online. You'll have variable costs depending on how busy you are, but you don't have to really worry about anything. Now, I've got a dedicated video on Cloudways Autonomous. In fact, I've got a ton of Cloudways content. So if you really want to go deep into this platform on any of the topics I'm talking about today, I'll link to that playlist down below, and you can check that out so you can learn a lot about autonomous, exactly what you're going to get for it. For the rest of the video, I'm going to stick to flexible, but on the interface here, I did want to call out that they have two different offerings. So let's go ahead and spin up a server on flexible. So I'll start off over here in my servers, and I'll just choose launch now. The first thing I'm going to do is set up a WordPress application. Now, the cool thing about Cloudways is I don't have to just use WordPress. I can use PHP, and in fact, they're even going to be launching Node.js in the very, very coming soon weeks, I believe, if not days, as of the publishing of this video. So keep an eye out for that. But if you want to run Magento, you can, or any other PHP app that's been live on their platform for a decade at this point. But if you're going to go with WordPress, like most people do, you've got a few options to consider. We've got regular old WordPress, you've got optimized WordPress, basic WordPress with no Cloudways optimizations, WooCommerce. So if you're running a WooCommerce website, this will just take WordPress and install it for you. Or what I would recommend is to go with their WooCommerce with optimized WordPress. So that's going to give you the Cloudways optimized experience with WooCommerce already installed. That's what I've chosen here. I'll give my application a name. I'll just call it demo. I'm going to also give the server a name because essentially what's happening here is I am spinning up a server. I'm getting my own computer, right? It's my own virtual computer. And on that, they're installing an application. That application is WordPress, and all of the things WordPress depends on, such as PHP and MySQL, they will be installed and managed for me, just like you would get over on WP Engine. Now this is new here, the Lightning Stack, a fast and simple Nginx setup with caching for speed and built-in security. So now Cloudways websites are faster than ever. I've not actually made any content on the Lightning Stack yet. If you want to see more about the Lightning Stack, definitely drop me a comment down below. I'm going to have some more regular Cloudways content coming out on this channel. So I'm looking for the topics, the things that are interesting to you about hosting on Cloudways. So we're going to go with the Lightning Stack here today, and I'm going to choose DigitalOcean as my provider. And in terms of the database, if you don't know what any of this is, just go with the recommended option, MariaDB, or if you like MySQL, you can choose that. But if you don't know, probably not going to have to deal with the database at all. This is all going to be a beautiful interface that you can use to control your website. Next up, we're going to choose the actual server that we want. Remember when we looked at the pricing table a little bit ago? Well, this is a more sophisticated version of that. So I can choose whether I want a basic plan, a general purpose plan, or a CPU optimized plan. This is a lot like the Vultr high frequency servers that I mentioned before. Notice when I switch over from DigitalOcean to Vultr, I now get the CPU optimized or high frequency plan over here. Now, is this going to be powerful enough for my demo website? Yes, it almost certainly is. But if this were a full production website, I would almost definitely switch it over to the premium option and then choose an appropriate amount of RAM to make sure I've got enough resources for everybody. Now down here at the bottom, we can actually see all of the specs that we're getting as we scale our server down or up. So now I've got 2 gigs of RAM, 60 gigs of disk space, as well as 2 core processors available. As I scroll down, we're going to see the stats that we saw in that pricing table, which is a single gigabyte of RAM, 1 processor, and 25 gigs of storage space. That's going to cost me about 2 cents per hour. And if I leave this up for 6 hours, I'm at like 12 cents. So we're going to go ahead and finish this out by choosing a server location. They have locations all over the world, so that's really great. If you've got clients in Sydney, you can choose a server that's local to them, or if you've got GDPR issues, you can choose a server that is going to be compliant with whatever your client needs. In general, just choosing a server that's closest to your customers is going to be the best experience. So I'm going to go with San Francisco here and hit launch now. It's going to take just a few minutes for this to actually spin up. While it's working, I can choose some add-ons here. They've got Cookie Yes, a new integration. These are basically plugins that will be installed on your site for you. We've got the Equalize Digital Accessibility Checker. They're all free. OmniSend and Rank Math. These are all options for free installations so that it's done for you as you spin things up. Totally optional. You don't have to choose any, and I'm going to skip for now. All right, that's it. My server is spinning up. It will be ready for me in about 7 minutes. Next, let's talk about backups. With both WP Engine and Cloudways, you're going to get backups. These two products are very similar here. With WP Engine, they do daily backups as well as on-demand backups, meaning that you can choose, hey, I'm going to make a big change to my website, back it up before I screw something up, so you have a place to fall back to. That's going to happen for you, that you can configure on the back end in terms of when you want the backups to happen, and they're done off-site. They're done over to Amazon S3 so that if something happens to the hardware, it's going to have some redundancy, meaning that you can pull the backup in. Now, with Cloudways, it's very similar. However, backups are done both on the same server. So if you want them to be, it's going to go a little faster for the backups that way because they'll be stored on the same hardware, but it will take up some of your server resources when the backup is happening, as well as the storage space will accumulate right on the Cloudways server. But they, of course, also have off-site backup. So let me show you how that works. I think my server has spun up here, so we should actually have a site to play with. Yes, here we go. My server is up and running. You can see I've got the demo server. Now I've got two tabs at the top. We've got servers and applications. Applications are going to be the actual websites that we're running, the web apps, whatever is that we're currently using our server for. You can see what server it lives on. I named the application and the server the same thing. Probably not the best idea, but my server is called demo. My application is also called demo. In terms of backups, we've got a few different options here. We can do backups at the server level. So inside of my server tab, I can click on the server and then I go down to backups here and I can see the schedule for the backups is going to happen off-site automatically, right? Everything's done off-site here. And if I want to do an on-demand backup, I can click this button and the backup will happen for the entire server. Now, if you're running multiple websites on the server, you might want to just do a backup of a specific site, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But I want to point out there's also a tab here for local backup. So if I turn this on, I'm now going to have backups happening every day with a week's worth of retention, so 7 copies of that backup stored right on the server. Can be optional. I don't usually recommend this for most people because it's going to take a lot of that storage space up. So offsite backups are good. If you want to download a copy, you'll have to do a local backup first. So that's the primary use case for local backups. Now, when it comes to WordPress hosting specifically, most of the time people just want a backup of their site. And to do that, we can go under our application, load up the site here, and sure enough, we're going to have another backup tab. We've got backup and restore. This will back up just that one particular site, not the entire server. So if you've got 30 sites on a larger server, well, you can just go ahead and back up the one that you're currently working on. So I could take a backup of just this site right now. I'll click the button. The backup starts to happen. It's just going to take a few seconds here, probably, since it's a brand new site. But once you do that, you're going to see that we'll have a restore option. So if I ever am in trouble and I've made a change and my site's broken, or I just did a plugin update, this is WordPress, and I want to roll back to that, well, I don't need any fancy services here. Now, Cloudways does have those fancy services where they'll update the site and check to make sure that the backup was, or that the site was backed up before the update's complete, and they will roll it back for you automatically. That's an extra thing, but you can see my backup is complete here. But if I want to do it the old-fashioned way, I can do it like this. I'm going to reload this page, and I'll see now that I have a restore option right here at the top. Here it is. This is my latest backup. If I've been running this server for a long time, I could click this disclosure triangle and I'd see a list of all of the backups I have of this particular site. To restore it, I just click this button and it's going to either let me back up or restore, excuse me, the web files, the database files, or a complete restore of everything. Okay, let's talk about security, because obviously that has always been something that's very sensitive in the WordPress space and is only becoming more sensitive as the new AI models come out and security breaches go through the roof. So what type of security is available in WP Engine and how does it compare to something like Cloudways? Let's start by talking about firewalls, because a firewall is an essential part of security. They're going to give you a managed firewall here with automated updates on WP Engine's compliant managed hosting platform. So as we scroll through here, you can see that they've blocked a lot of attacks every single year. They've got a lot of websites hosted with them, 2 million plus, and 300 plus security and platform updates every single month. These numbers are so large they almost don't mean anything to the regular person other than to establish that, yeah, WP Engine does a lot of business. Now, when I think of firewalls, I tend to think of one specific company that's widely providing the most popular and most trusted firewall out there, and that is Cloudflare. With WP Engine, they seem to have a proprietary firewall. That's not to say it is bad, but they just don't tell you a lot about it. It's not very clear exactly what they're doing and how well trusted this firewall is, other than to say, hey, we block common attacks. That's great. And they have these other services that will update your plugins on your website. That's not included. That's going to be an additional fee. However, with Cloudways, you can use the enterprise level of Cloudflare for a very reasonable cost, especially when you compare what these tools cost on their own. So when it comes to a firewall on Cloudways, all you have to do is open up your application here, and then you scroll down to the Cloudflare tab, and you can sign up for just $5 a month per domain to get Cloudflare Enterprise. Now, if you're new to this whole WordPress hosting thing, you'd be like, oh man, they're nickeling and diming me. Cloudflare for $5, that's a lot of money, until you dig a little bit deeper here. Because with Cloudflare Enterprise, we are not just getting some firewall, we're getting the best firewall in the industry. And we're also going to get edge page caching. So CDN caching all integrated in one little component for $5 a month is an insane value. If it's not enough for you, they're going to give you your first 30 days free. Now, what kind of value is this? Well, I just asked on Google in their AI mode here, and it typically costs between $2,000 and $10,000 per month if you wanted to set your company up with Cloudflare Enterprise, because they don't really deal with smaller companies, small businesses. They're looking for those larger contracts. So what Cloudways has done for you is they sign the deal, and then they're able to resell these features at a very reasonable cost. So no spending $2,000 a month just on Cloudflare. $5 a month per site is going to get you these insane features. Now, of course, if you've already used Cloudflare in the past and maybe you like using their free version, or you spend $5 a month directly with Cloudflare to sign up for something like the automatic platform optimization for WordPress, well, you can continue doing that. Cloudways is not going to prevent you from using your own Cloudflare account. However, for the same price, you can get enterprise level features. So to me, that just makes a ton of sense. Now, I want to point out, just to be completely transparent and fair in this video, that it's not unlimited for $5, right? They're going to charge you overage fees if you have a ton of bandwidth. So over 100 gigabytes of bandwidth, they're going to charge you 2 cents per additional gigabyte. That's going to just, save them from having, an unprofitable business. I think it makes a ton of sense here. Most people are not going to go over the 100 gigabytes of bandwidth. And if you do, it's not going to be a great deal of money. On top of a firewall, there's more to security, of course, than just a firewall. Inside of Cloudways, we've got malware protection. So they use Immunify 360 to do automatic identification and removal of malicious code from your application. This is an additional fee, but it's going to give you a ton of extra services. So if you've got just 1 to 5 websites, it's going to be $4 per month per application. If you are a larger provider, that cost does come way down. We're going to get phishing protection, system protection, database protection, malware cleanup. So if you do get hacked, they're going to automatically clean it up for you. Proactive defense, so that they'll block malware from actually getting injected into your website. and it says others, robust protection against all cyber attacks. When it comes to security on WP Engine, there's not a lot that's actually included in the base rate. So if you want to add in like their firewall, like we've been talking about, or you want uptime monitoring or DDoS protection, well, they give you basic DDoS protection, but if you want more advanced DDoS protection, you actually need to add that in. You can see it's an extra layer of security for $19 per month. So now our $30 a month plan goes up to $49 a month. Now, Cloudflare Enterprise is looking pretty cheap at just $5 a month, and you also get their amazing CDN with it, the Cloudflare CDN. So it really kind of checks a lot of boxes. So back over on Cloudways, we could go with their malware protection as well as Cloudflare Enterprise. You're looking at $4 a month for the malware protection, and then under Cloudflare, again, that was $5 a month, $9 a month. You're less than half the cost of the advanced security over on WP Engine. Now, I'm seeing this theme as I compare these two tools. I honestly, I knew that Cloudways was a better value, but as I go back and forth, it's really glaringly obvious that you're getting at least twice the value when you sign up for Cloudways. You get to choose your own provider, you get more resources with that provider. And then in terms of the add-ons, the extras that a lot of people want, they don't want to have to hire someone additional. They like the services built into the hosting platform. So for security, for backups, these extra features, you get more than twice the value. $9 total for security on Cloudways to get the best of the best, versus $19 over on WP Engine. And it's not entirely clear exactly what you're getting with WP Engine since it's their own products. Next, let's talk about site speed, because site speed is critical for conversions. You do not want to have a slow loading website or people simply will not buy from you. So everything we've been talking about so far is pennies if your site converts poorly. So what do we have over on WP Engine side of things for site speed? Well, WP Engine, they make a product called the NitroPack, and it's $20 extra per month and gives you 30+ site optimizations. Which exact optimizations you get are not clear from the billing page here, but we can dig a little deeper into the NitroPack to find out what they offer. Because like I said, this is an actual product that they sell. So if you've got any WordPress website and you want to sign up for this tool, you definitely can do so. Now they have 60+ features if you buy from them directly, and you can do so for a pretty reasonable cost. The NitroPack is only going to cost you $17 a month if you just go out and buy it. So some kind of confusing, you can see down here, one site, 40,000 page views a month, 25 gigs of CDN, some kind of confusing offerings when you're looking at paying $20 a month over on the actual integration with WP Engine. It doesn't seem like you're saving any money. It seems like they're just giving you the monthly plan here, which is $20.90. And what do we get for our $20 a month with the NitroPack? Well, a lot of things that honestly you're going to get from Cloudways just by default. Cloudways comes with a plugin called Breeze, and it does a lot of these things here, such as caching. We're going to get caching baked in. Now, you don't get caching on their free or starter plan. You do need the plus plan to get their caching. If you're unfamiliar with what caching means, it's just a way to speed up your website by not hitting the database so frequently. So it kind of makes a static version of your website that is true, it doesn't ever change. And then when you make an update to your website, it clears that cache and then serves those files to people. So we're going to get caching baked in here. Most of the features are kind of relegated to the $20 a month plan. As far as media and images, this is going to be the ability to compress images automatically, to lazy load images. A lot of these features are available through other plugins or would be handled, through your Cloudflare integration that knocks all of these out. So yeah, I would say that the NitroPack most closely compares to something like Cloudflare Business, which is $20 a month. Of course, you're going to get the next level up from that from Cloudways for just $5 a month. It includes things like font loading, CDN, and some other security things here, like two-factor authentication, as well as logging of everything that's going on in your site. Now with Cloudways, we get their Lightning Stack, which is going to give you a fast base for your website. This is not caching, this is not a CDN, it's the actual technology that's loading up your website. So it's Nginx, it's going to be PHP FPM, it's going to add up to being just an overall fundamental faster start to your website. From there, you can add on things like the Breeze plugin, which is free and installed automatically on WordPress, so that is going to speed things up right there. And you can also add in their CDN, the Cloudflare integration, and that will just push you over the edge in terms of speed. Okay, so where are we at in terms of costs? If we switch over to a monthly plan on WP Engine, we're at 35 bucks a month there for a single site, 25,000 visitors, 10 gigs of storage. We add in the security, which now in the monthly plan, that's $23 a month, and the NitroPack to get us their advanced CDN and improve our speed scores. We are now at $78 a month for a website, or if we did switch this over to annual, $69 per month, which is going to be darn near, actually exactly $820 per year for one singular website that honestly can't handle all that much traffic. And you can see like their next tier up is $400 per month. I mean, that's the starting rate. So you can get all that stuff included and you're going to get, more, better support and all of that. But we're looking at several thousands of dollars per year. Versus on Cloudways, even if we went with a comparable cost, like let's say I went with a Vultr high frequency server, that's 30 bucks a month, or even if I went up to a $60 a month server, because now I've got a lot more to spend, that's going to give me 4 gigs of RAM, 3 terabytes of transfer. Now I've got a lot more capability here in terms of how many people I can serve with my website. I could add in the Cloudflare integration for $5 per month. Let's call it $10 a month to allot for a lot of overages. We're at 70 bucks a month. Add in the malware protection, $74 a month. I'm still like multiple hundreds of dollars per year cheaper going with Cloudways. And I've got like such a better set of tools. I haven't mentioned it yet, but they also include Object Cache Pro. This is an absolute must-have if you're doing something with WooCommerce or an LMS, because it's going to have special integrations with those WordPress plugins to make them work better with object caching, which if you're not a technical person, just know that object caching is a way to speed up your database. So if your database works better with WooCommerce, that's going to mean that you're able to serve more people without having to spend more on server costs. This is normally 95 bucks a month, and that's not a joke. You can go to the Object Cache Pro website. It is 95 bucks a month or $950 if you pay yearly. And yeah, Cloudways is big enough that they can just throw that in at no additional cost. You're paying $30 a month for a server and they're giving you a $95 a month plugin. It just doesn't math to go anywhere else. Okay, we've done a pricing comparison. We've talked about backups. We've talked about security. We've talked about site speed. Now, what about everything else? Things that you need to do every day on your WordPress website. If not every day, you should be doing them at least once a week. Well, both platforms here, Cloudways and WP Engine, offer the ability to do automatic backups. Let me show you how it works. It's not free, there's extras, but it's pretty good solution. So with WP Engine, you click this button right here when you're signing up, and that's going to give you automatic plugin updates. It's going to keep your plugins up to date and your site secure. You can see that they also have visual regression and testing, so it'll roll things back if your website breaks after a plugin update. On Cloudways, they call that safe updates, and you can turn it on by just going into your application and then finding the safe updates tab. Right down here at the bottom, safe updates, you can see exactly what it's going to do on demand as well as automated backups, visual regression testing included. It's even going to do performance testing to make sure that a new update did not slow down your website. And sure enough, the cost is just $3 a month per website. And if you have more than 5 websites, they do give you a price break down to $2 per month. So I'd say both platforms are pretty equal here. Well, what about support? What are we going to get for our money over on Cloudways, and how does it compare to WP Engine? With WP Engine, you're going to get chat support included in their bottom tier plan. If you want to have phone support, you do need to go up to a higher price plan. Remember, this started at $400 a month. Now with Cloudways, on the basic plan, you're going to get a pretty similar experience here with 24/7, 365 live chat, and they do have tickets if you prefer that, which I kind of do. Sometimes I don't like to wait around for chat, but they also have advanced contracts that you can sign up for. One's called the advanced plan, the other's called the premium plan. Now this is going to cost $100 a month minimum, or 10% of your invoice. So if you're spending $10,000 a month with Cloudways, it's going to cost you more than $100. I think that's fair. Now with this, you get something really cool. It's still all done via chat and ticketing, which I'm honestly fine with, but they are also going to do proactive investigation, which means Cloudways bot is going to monitor your website. And if they notice something has gone wrong, they're not going to just tell you about it. They're going to have their support agents proactively fix your website so you don't even have to deal with it. All for $100 a month. That's a pretty good offer. Now, if you need a little bit more for $500 a month or 10% of your invoice, you can get them in your own private Slack channel as well as get phone support. So very, very reasonable offerings here. One other thing I didn't mention is a feature available on both advanced and premium. It's what they call customization support. So with Cloudways, you kind of get their stack. Remember, it's a managed service, so they don't let you change things too much or you might break something. But if you do want to change things, you want to add additional services to your server stack, well, you can sign up for their advanced or premium plan, and then you can ask for them to do server configuration changes that will follow through the platform processes, including clone, restore, and transfer. So that is exactly why I often encourage people to check out Cloudways if they're considering signing up for another hosting provider. It's not that all other providers are bad, but we've got Cloudways sitting there with such a great offer and so many features available. It's kind of hard to go wrong. If you do want to sign up for Cloudways, I've got my link in the description. Go ahead and click that before making a purchase. If you've got any questions about Cloudways, WordPress, plugins, even ideas for other upcoming videos, hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. You can also check out my website at daveswift.com. Get signed up for the email newsletter while you're there. It's totally free, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Thanks for watching.